What's up, YouTube? Jeff, your Style O.G. And on today's video, I'm going to share with you some of my best tips on how you can successfully approach women. If you're new to the channel, we release a new video every Monday, Thursday, and Saturday at 4 p.m. Eastern, discussing various men's lifestyle topics such as style, grooming, and dating. I invite you to subscribe, tap that notification bell, and join us. And to my returning friends like Damian Beverly, salute. Now, believe you me, I get it. Approaching a woman, especially one you don't know, can be nerve-wracking, anxiety-inducing, just plain old awkward. We've all been there. And keeping that in mind, what I want to do in this video is give you your best shot to be successful when you do work up the nerve to approach a woman you don't know. We all have to do it. But after today's video, you'll be on a better path to getting it right the next time you try it. Because fellas, like the cliche goes, nothing ventured, nothing gained. So without any further delay, let's hop right into the best tips on how to approach a woman. Now, the first thing to keep in mind when approaching women happens before you even make the approach. You want to make sure you have the right attitude. Here's what I mean. A lot of guys get nervous when they approach a woman because they automatically put themselves in a position of inferiority. You've already assigned some value to this woman in your head. That's what's making you interested to walk over in the first place. But you have to keep in mind, you have value too. And furthermore, because you're being proactive and pursuing, that puts you in a position of power. You've taken charge. And what I want you to keep in mind when approaching women is that it's really a can't-lose situation. Either you're gonna make a successful connection or you're not. But if you don't make that connection, you're in the same position you were before you approached. Just a little bit of awkward and maybe embarrassed, but nothing more. And even after getting rejected, you might be able to analyze what you did wrong and do better the next time. So remember, before you even approach, you're in a position of power. Get your mind right before you get over there. Now, next up is another tip you can implement before you even approach, and it likely will increase your odds of success. Before you go over, try to initiate some eye contact. Now, this has always been one of my favorite moves. That's because if you can initiate and get some eye contact before you go over, it's likely a non-verbal invitation for you to approach. And it's very simple to do. If you see someone you're interested in, initiate some eye contact, hold the eye contact, but make sure you have a relaxed smile on your face. She returns the eye contact and holds your gaze even for a second or two. She's likely okay with you coming over. Great thing about initiating the eye contact before you go over, it'll give you a boost of confidence. That nonverbal invitation will take away some of the anxiety. Now, next up, let's talk about approaching. And one of the most important points, when you do feel like you want to approach someone, approach right away, especially if you've gotten that eye contact. If you've decided you see someone you're interested in, the longer you wait, the more you'll give yourself a chance to get nervous. And if she's giving you some eye contact and you don't approach, she'll detect a lack of confidence. And just think about it, even if you didn't get the eye contact and you've been looking over and she notices you noticing her, the longer you wait, she'll think, this guy is scared. And on top of that, you have to keep in mind, if she's interested, she might be anxious too. The longer you wait, the more anxious you both can become. Trust me, there's nothing to be gained by hesitating to approach. All you're gonna do is give yourself time to talk yourself out of it. Once you've decided you see someone you're interested in, do not hesitate. Approach right away. Now that you decided to take the initiative and approach this woman, you want to make sure you approach with the right body language and at the right angle. Here's what I mean. One of the most important things you need to do when approaching a woman is to project confidence. You can't do this with your head down, slouched over. Instead, before you walk over, make sure you have good posture. Head up, chest out, shoulders back. Make eye contact and give a relaxed smile. When you have that relaxed smile, it'll help her relax. All my stern-faced, angry-looking men, that doesn't work. You're gonna scare her off. You're gonna make her uncomfortable. Relax, my guy. And I also suggest when you approach a woman, take the most direct route you can. Don't come up from behind, don't come up from the side. You can startle her, catch her off guard. Remember, to this woman, you're a stranger. If she can have you in her direct line of sight, she'll feel more in control. You've probably heard this a million times and 1,000 times from me. Women are attracted to confident men. Make sure you project confidence in your approach. Now, next up, I want to help you out with the part a lot of guys have a problem with when it comes to approaching women. What do you say when you get over there? Don't worry, I got you. Now, the most important thing, don't use a pickup line. Pickup lines come off as corny and unoriginal, not a good impression. Instead, I recommend you keep it simple. Walk over and introduce yourself. I would keep it as simple as this. Walk over, extend your hand and say, hey, I'm Jeff. I noticed you from across the room. I wouldn't mind chatting you up a bit if you're up for it. She's gonna either say yes or no, and then you take it from there. If she says yes, here's a few conversation starters. Talk about the situation or circumstance or the event you find yourself in. That's something you automatically already have in common. You're both at the same place for a reason. Ask her what brings her there. After that, I recommend ask open-ended questions. What this means is no yes or no question. Ask her questions you'll have to elaborate on, or you can ask follow-up questions. The good thing about this is people like talking about themselves. Ask her a question, make sure you're actively listening, and then use follow-up questions to keep the conversation flowing. The more you get her talking, the less likely you'll stumble over your words and make a mistake. Now, one of the things you definitely want to keep in mind when having this initial conversation, keep the conversation light and positive. Please, no heavy topic. Remember, either one or both of you is already nervous. No need to drag the conversation down with heavy topics. There'll be plenty of time to talk about religion, politics, or have morality debates as you get to know each other. You don't need to know where each other stands on every controversial topic in your first conversation. It's not important. You want to leave a good first impression. You want her to remember you as someone who's easy to talk to, fun to talk to, and makes her feel good, makes her feel positive. Get into a deep philosophical argument the first conversation, that's a no-go. Remember, in the initial conversation, keep the conversation light and positive. Now, one of the things you definitely can do to make sure she remembers feeling positive after your conversation is to sprinkle in some compliments. But make sure you sprinkle in the right compliments. Just like in the conversation topics, keep the compliments light and positive. Here's what I mean. Don't make overly suggestive compliments. She doesn't need to know she has great breasts or a great rear end. That doesn't mean you can't compliment her physically, but keep the compliments light. Tell her she has a nice smile. She has pretty eyes. You like the dress she has on. Also can give her some personality compliments, but make sure they fit the conversation. If she says something funny, tell her, hey, you're hilarious. Or say, for example, you get into a topic where she displays some of her intellect, tell her, hey, you really know your stuff. The key is to make sure the compliments are non-sexual and sincere. If there's something you like about her, let her know. Now, next up is something that most successful approachers have in common. They know how to get in and get out. Here's what I mean. When you approach a woman and have a good initial conversation, don't keep the woman hostage. Especially for my guys that get a little nervous, the longer you stick around, the more likely you'll make a mistake. I don't recommend when you make an initial approach sticking around more than 3 to 5 minutes. That's more than long enough to make an initial connection and build some initial rapport. After that few minutes, this is all you need to do. You say, hey, it was nice meeting you. I'd love to continue this conversation at another time. Let's exchange information. Do not hesitate after a few minutes to get the phone number. Exchange information, then exit gracefully. There's no need to keep hanging around. You're not gonna make this deep connection on the first initial contact. Save that for later. You wanna make sure you have in common what a lot of successful approachers have. They get in and they get out. Now, next up is a very important tip to keep in mind, in my opinion, when you're approaching women. You have to make sure you're okay with rejection. Let me be the first to tell you, no matter how cool, smooth, or handsome a guy is, if he puts himself out there, he gets more no's than yeses. It happens to all of us. You, me, every guy. But the key is, if a woman isn't interested in you, you don't take it personally. Just because she rejects your advances doesn't necessarily mean it's a reflection on you as an individual. I like to look at it this way. If I approach a woman and she's not interested, I figured, hey, she doesn't like handsome guys with gray in their beard. I might not be her type. And that's cool. Hey, she might just be having a bad day. She might have a man. It's not necessarily about you. The key is how you handle rejection. Handle it with class. If you show interest and the woman doesn't return it, say, hey, nice meeting you anyway, wish you the best, have a great day, exit gracefully. Because once you work up the confidence to start approaching women, remember, you're gonna fail more than you succeed. Don't take it personally. Now, as I mentioned in the beginning of the video, I know approaching women can be nerve-wracking and anxiety-inducing. But I believe if you pay attention to the tips I gave you in today's video, you'll much more likely be able to approach women with confidence and perhaps increase your success rate. Now, as always, I'd love to have your input. Let the Style O.G family know in the comments section if you have any tips you'd like to share on approaching women successfully.